Welcome to Dogs Info. You think your dog is fine when you leave the house. They are quietly sitting by the door, giving their tail a soft wag. But behind those calm eyes, a biological alarm is blaring. Their cortisol levels are secretly spiking 3 times higher than their normal baseline. Every single time you walk out that door, your dog experiences a severe psychological crisis. And the heartbreaking truth, the exact things you do to comfort them before you leave are actually making their panic significantly worse. From the way you say goodbye to the specific spot you touch before grabbing your keys, science has uncovered that our human instincts are completely wrong. If you want to finally cure your dog's separation anxiety, you need to understand the hidden mechanisms running inside their brain. Let's decode their secret language. Number 1, the countdown you never noticed. Most experienced dog parents think they are being incredibly subtle when they prepare to leave for the day. But researchers at the University of Lincoln discovered something deeply disturbing. Dogs actually start their severe anxiety response up to 20 whole minutes before anyone actually walks out the front door. Your morning routine creates what animal behaviorists call an auditory countdown. The distinct beep of the coffee maker finishing its cycle. The specific thud of the closet door closing. The subtle way your footsteps sound completely different on the hardwood floor when you are wearing hard-soled work shoes versus soft slippers. A massive study in applied animal behavior science found that dogs can accurately distinguish between 17 different pre-departure sounds in the average household. Yes, 17. And the keys create the absolute biggest problem of all. When researchers measured salivary cortisol in dogs, they found that the high-pitched jingle of metal keys alone caused a staggering 68% spike in stress markers. And the dogs hadn't even been left alone yet. Some owners accidentally train their dogs to panic through what seems like absolute kindness. That last-minute aggressive belly rub or a frantic quick game of fetch right before heading out floods the dog's central nervous system with arousal chemicals right before total abandonment. Dr. Patricia McConnell's research shows that elevated play arousal combined with sudden physical isolation creates what she calls emotional whiplash. It is the neurological equivalent of driving a car at full speed and suddenly slamming on the brakes. But it's not just the physical sounds of your morning routine that set them off. It's what you actually say right before you turn the doorknob. Number 2. The goodbye that feels like grief. So you bend down, look them deeply in the eyes, stroke their ears, and say something like, "Be a good boy. I'll be back soon. I love you." It feels completely natural, necessary, and even cruel not to do it. But well, veterinary behaviorists have mapped the canine brain and discovered something heartbreaking. Emotional drawn-out goodbyes activate the exact same brain regions in dogs that process genuine grief. Your dog's brain literally interprets your sweet emotional goodbye as a tragic grief event every single time you leave for work. Those sweet words and extra pets create what researchers formally call departure distress priming. The heavy emotional energy signals to the dog that something absolutely terrible is about to happen. Dogs who receive these emotional goodbyes consistently show 40% more destructive behavior in the very first hour alone. Meanwhile, dogs whose owners simply walk out the door without any ceremony barely register the event as significant. Their heart rates stay entirely stable and their cortisol remains completely at baseline. The departure just becomes another boring movement through space rather than an emotional catastrophe. So, if you can't say a long emotional goodbye, what exactly are you supposed to do? The answer lies in a tiny biological hack you must perform exactly 5 minutes before you walk out. Number 3. The 5-minute window changes everything. A research team at Tufts University studied a physical technique they called grounding touch, and the incredible results completely challenged conventional separation anxiety advice. The technique, which successfully reduced panic behaviors by a massive 73% in their clinical trials, works exactly like this. About 5 minutes before you are ready to leave the house, place your hand firmly flat and heavy on your dog's chest or shoulder. Not petting, not scratching. Just steady, firm, even physical pressure for exactly 30 seconds. Do not talk to them. Do not make eye contact. Just provide that still grounding pressure. This highly specific type of touch physically activates the dog's parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest response that is the exact biological opposite of the anxiety-driven fight or flight mode. It literally forces their heart rate to slow down and drastically decreases their cortisol production. But there is a catch. You have to remain completely emotionally calm yourself. Dogs can physically detect changes in human heart rate through invisible chemosignals. Any anxiety you feel about leaving will transfer straight through that touch. For particularly touch-sensitive dogs who get squirmy, there is an alternative. Place your hand lightly over their front paw. Do not hold it down. Just cover it for the same 30 seconds. This activates proprioceptive feedback that helps them feel physically anchored to the floor. The 5-minute timing hits an absolute neurological sweet spot. The profound calming effect persists right through your actual exit without becoming part of the dreaded anxiety chain. But before you try this grounding touch, you need to look at the clock. Because applying this rule to the wrong type of absence will completely backfire. Number 4. Why grabbing the mail needs different rules. Your dog's stress response differs completely for a quick 5-minute departure versus a grueling 8-hour work day. Using the wrong departure ritual for the wrong absence makes absolutely everything worse. Researchers monitoring canine heart rate variability discovered something highly unexpected. For brief absences under 15 minutes, like checking the mail or running the trash to the curb, dogs who received absolutely zero departure ritual showed the lowest possible stress levels. Their owners just walked out. No goodbyes, no grounding touch, nothing. The dogs barely even registered the door closing. For these short absences, the absolute best ritual is literally no ritual. Make your departure invisible. Walk out seamlessly while they are distracted by something else. Clinical studies by Dr. Karen overall show that these dogs don't even activate their separation response system. Their brains simply categorize the event like you've just walked into the next room. Long absences, however, need completely different handling. For anything over 2 hours, dogs desperately benefit from what behaviorists call a predictable pre-departure sequence. This means executing the exact same series of calm actions every single time. The identical grounding touch in the exact same spot, saying the exact same neutral phrase in the exact same tone, and performing a 30-second pause before opening the door. This only works for long absences, but even if you perfectly execute your departure for a long workday, there is a tiny window of time right after you close the door that dictates the rest of their entire day. Number 5, the critical first 15 seconds. After you close the front door behind you, something happens inside the house that determines whether your dog enters full panic mode or quietly settles down. Hidden camera studies have revealed that dogs make a critical biological decision in the absolute first 15 seconds after the door clicks shut. And the trigger for that decision comes from what happened 30 seconds before the exit. Dogs whose owners paused, literally, just stood completely still in the hallway for 30 seconds right before leaving, were 60% more likely to settle peacefully within that crucial 15-second window. Just standing there. Maybe checking your phone, creating absolutely zero interaction or emotional stimulation with the dog. This boring pause allows the dog's nervous system to completely down-regulate from whatever mild arousal the departure preparations just caused. When that interaction simply doesn't come, their brain realizes there is no immediate threat. Some owners, trying to be kind, rush out the door as fast as humanly possible thinking they are ripping off the Band-Aid. These dogs consistently showed the absolute highest panic scores of all. The sudden chaotic absence after highly visible frantic preparations creates a violent cognitive dissonance that their brain simply cannot process. While that 30-second pause is crucial for their brain, you can actually predict whether they will panic or settle just by looking at where they choose to stand in the room. Number 6. Where they wait reveals everything. In the final 10 minutes before your typical departure time, your dog will position themselves in a highly revealing way. And this specific physical positioning predicts exactly how badly they will handle the absence. Dogs who aggressively station themselves directly between you and the front door show cortisol levels 85% higher than dogs positioned elsewhere in the house. They are physically attempting to prevent the inevitable. Every departure becomes a literal physical battle that they lose, deeply reinforcing their trauma response. Dogs who frantically follow you from room to room in those final minutes are actively pre-grieving. They are trying to maximize physical contact before the impending separation. The more heavily they shadow you before departure, the significantly worse their first hour alone will be. They are actually actively amplifying their own panic response through this shadowing behavior. The calmest dogs position themselves in what researchers call their safe zone, usually a cozy dog bed or a favorite spot on the rug where they can clearly see the door without physically blocking it. These dogs are actively practicing being alone while you are still physically there, brilliantly preparing their nervous system for what is coming. Once you finally make it out the door, their primary sense takes over and they start using it to build a literal biological ticking clock. Number 7, your scent becomes a countdown clock. Every single time you leave the house, you create what olfactory researchers call a scent degradation timeline. Basically, your dog tracks exactly how long you have been gone through molecular decay. Dogs can detect scent molecules at staggering concentrations as low as 1 part per trillion. They are literally physically tracking the exact decay curve of your human smell throughout the day. Groundbreaking studies at Barnard College found that dogs can accurately estimate an owner's absence duration within a strict 20-minute margin based entirely on scent degradation in the living room. The physical items you touched right before leaving hold your scent the absolute strongest. The very last thing you touch becomes their temporal anchor. Some owners unknowingly create intense anxiety by touching the dog's favorite toy or bed right before leaving, accidentally turning their comfort items into loud ticking countdown clocks. The solution seems totally backward, but it works flawlessly. About 10 minutes before departure, deliberately and heavily touch an item near the front door, like a specific entry mat or a hallway cushion. This creates a scent bridge. Your strongest scent remains anchored at the exit point, which makes your absence feel far less absolute to their brain. Dogs with access to these deliberate scent bridges show 50% less vocalization and howling in the first hour. And for long workday absences, leaving out a piece of unwashed clothing provides a massive consistent scent concentration that doesn't trigger their time tracking instincts. Even with perfect scent management, there are specific days where all your training completely falls apart. And science has finally figured out why. Number 8. The pattern behind meltdown days. Every experienced dog parent knows about meltdown days, those highly frustrating days when their usually stable, well-behaved dog suddenly absolutely cannot handle being left alone. Researchers have finally identified a strict behavioral pattern that predicts these exact crisis days with an 80% accuracy rate. Meltdown days almost always follow what scientists officially call social surplus events. These are days with unusually high human interaction, weekend family gatherings, long play dates at the park, or days when you happen to work from home. The violent contrast between extremely high social contact and sudden total isolation triggers a severe differential stress response. Basically, the dog's brain physically cannot regulate this dramatic stimulation shift. Their dopamine and oxytocin levels crash much harder than usual, creating literal chemical withdrawal-like symptoms. The more intense the social day was, the significantly worse tomorrow's separation anxiety will be. A specific protocol prevents these terrible meltdowns. On highly social days, you must deliberately build in micro-separations. Close a door between you and your dog for exactly 5 minutes 3 different times during the busy social day. These tiny breaks prevent their internal attachment system from becoming dangerously hyperactivated. Dealing with these meltdown days often leads to destructive behavior. And how you react to that destruction when you finally get home is probably destroying their trust in you. Number 9. The guilty look is actually pure terror. You come home after a long day at work, and you find that your dog has absolutely shredded your couch cushions or dragged the trash across the kitchen floor. When you confront them, they cower, pin their ears back, tuck their tail, and give you what looks exactly like a guilty expression. Most owners think they know exactly what they did wrong. Veterinary behaviorists have proven this is a massive psychological myth. Dogs do not feel complex human guilt, and they have incredibly poor short-term episodic memory. When they give you that look, they are not feeling remorse for chewing the pillow 3 hours ago. They are displaying classic submissive appeasement behavior. They are reacting entirely to your current angry body language, your tense facial expressions, and the sharp tone of your voice. To a dog, you are unpredictably terrifying in that exact moment. Punishing a dog after the fact does absolutely nothing to fix separation anxiety. It only makes it infinitely worse. It teaches the dog that your return home, which should be a moment of relief, is actually a highly dangerous, scary event. This fear stacks on top of their isolation panic, creating a vicious cycle of terror. You must clean up the mess calmly and focus on preventing the anxiety that caused the destruction in the first place. And part of the reason they pace and destroy things in the first place is because of a common trick owners use to keep them company. Number 10. The false comfort of background noise. For decades, the absolute standard advice for leaving a dog alone was to leave the television or talk radio on. The human logic was simple. The sound of voices will make the house feel less empty, and it will keep the dog company. Recent bioacoustic studies on dogs have proven this advice to be completely counterproductive. Dogs have incredibly acute hearing, and their brains are highly evolved to distinguish between the voices of their specific pack members and the voices of strangers. When you leave talk radio or a random TV show on, the dog's brain is forced to constantly process the unpredictable varying tones of strange human voices filling their territory. Instead of being comforting, this creates low-level continuous auditory stress. The dog cannot deeply sleep because their brain is constantly monitoring the strange voices for potential threats or commands. They remain in an exhausting state of hypervigilance. If you want to use sound to soothe your dog, science points to a very specific frequency. Psychoacoustic researchers have found that specially composed slow-tempo classical music, specifically pieces that hold a steady 50 to 60 beats per minute, physically lowers a dog's heart rate. Even better is reggae music, which clinical studies show dogs actually prefer over classical. The steady, predictable rhythmic beat mimics a resting heart rate and actively encourages deep, restorative sleep. But even a perfectly quiet, relaxing house won't help if you undo all of their calm behavior the absolute second you walk back through the front door. Number 11. The danger of the excited return. We all love the feeling of walking through the front door and being greeted like an absolute rock star. Your dog jumps, whines, spins in circles, and acts like you have been gone for 10 years. Naturally, you drop your bags, get down on the floor, and excitedly match their energy, saying, "I missed you so much." According to behavioral neuroscience, this is one of the most damaging things you can possibly do for a dog with separation anxiety. When you make a massive emotional deal out of your return, you are actively validating their panic. You are communicating to their nervous system. You were right to be terrified. My absence was a huge deal, and it is a miracle that we have survived and found each other again. This intense emotional spike creates a massive contrast between the boring isolation of the day and the explosive joy of your return, making the isolation feel even more unbearable tomorrow. The cure for this is the 5-minute ignore rule. When you come home, do not look at your dog, do not speak to them, and do not touch them for the first 5 minutes. Walk inside, put your keys away, take off your coat, and calmly go about your business. Wait until their breathing slows down and all 4 paws are firmly on the floor. Only then should you calmly pet them. This teaches their brain that you coming and going is a completely boring, non-eventful part of daily life. Fixing. Your return changes their mindset, but what they are looking at while you are gone can secretly fry their nervous system. Number 12, the window trap. Many owners leave the curtains wide open or the blinds pulled up when they go to work, thinking their dog will enjoy looking out the living room window. They believe they are providing entertaining doggy TV to cure their boredom, but veterinary behaviorists warn that for many dogs, this is actually psychological torture. Every single time a dog sees a perceived threat through the window, a mail carrier walking up the path, a stray cat in the bushes, or another dog walking by on a leash, their body releases a sudden surge of adrenaline and cortisol. In the wild, after a threat passes, an animal shakes off the stress and completely returns to an emotional baseline. But when a dog is trapped inside a house entirely unable to physically chase or investigate the threat, that stress hormone never dissipates. This creates a highly dangerous phenomenon called trigger stacking. The mailman walks by at 9 a.m. cortisol spike. A delivery truck rumbles past at 10:30 a.m. another cortisol spike layered right on top of the first. By 1 p.m. the dog's central nervous system is completely fried. They aren't chewing your baseboards because they miss you. They are chewing your baseboards because they are chemically overloaded with unspent adrenaline and have no physical outlet for it. If your dog suffers from separation anxiety, close the blinds or apply a frosted window film to the lower panes of glass. Removing visual access to the outside world almost always produces a massive immediate drop in pacing and destruction. If looking out the window causes stress, you need to give them an alternative outlet for their anxiety right before you leave. Number 13. The hidden power of canine chewing. When we feel anxious, humans bite our fingernails, bounce our legs, or nervously chew on pens. Dogs have their own biological version of this stress relief mechanism. And if you use it correctly, it can completely rewire how they feel about you leaving the house. The physical acts of licking and chewing are biologically deeply soothing for a dog. The repetitive motion of their jaw and tongue physically stimulates the release of highly potent endorphins and dopamine in their brain. It acts as a natural biological pacifier that actively suppresses the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for processing fear and panic. You can hijack this biological response to cure their departure anxiety. Right before you leave the house, give your dog a high-value frozen lick mat, a stuffed Kong, or a durable safe chew bone. Do not just hand them a dry biscuit that they can swallow in 2 seconds. You need something that will take them 20 to 30 minutes of continuous focused licking and chewing to finish. By the time they finally finish the puzzle, a highly stressful first 20 minutes of your absence will have completely passed. Their brain will be flooded with calming endorphins, their heart rate will be stable, and they will naturally feel inclined to take a nap. You have successfully taken the exact moment of their highest panic and rewired their brain to associate it with chemical pleasure. We love our dogs more than anything in the world, but our natural human instincts on how to comfort them are often exactly what causes them the most psychological pain. They do not process goodbyes, absences, or time the exact way we do. But by deeply understanding the actual biological machinery running inside their brains, we can finally stop accidentally torturing them with our love. We can leave the house knowing that they aren't waiting in absolute terror, but resting in total peace. If this video completely changed the way you think about leaving your best friend at home, please share it with another dog owner who desperately needs to hear this. And before you go, please drop down into the comments right now and tell us your dog's name. We want to hear all about the amazing dogs that make coming home the absolute best part of your day. You stand up for 5 seconds, and before you even turn around, your dog has already stolen your spot on the couch. You probably laugh it off or feel a little annoyed. But what if that one cheeky little move is actually the most emotionally loaded thing your dog will ever do? What if you have been misreading it your entire life? Today, we are decoding the secret canine language behind seat stealing. By the end of this video, you will never have the heart to shoo them off your chair ever again. Let's dive in. Number 1, the chemical equivalent of a hug. You have seen it 100 times. You stand up to grab a glass of water, maybe answer the front door, or simply stretch your legs for 30 seconds. Before you have even taken 3 steps, your dog is already spinning in tight circles on your exact seat. They press their wet nose deep into the warm cushion, let out a heavy sigh, and settle in like they have been desperately waiting all day for this precise moment. And the beautiful truth is, they probably have. To understand why you have to realize that dogs experience the world almost entirely through smell. Their noses contain roughly 300 million highly specialized olfactory receptors. Yours has about 6 million. That means your dog's sense of smell is up to 100,000 times more powerful than yours. They live in a completely different sensory universe. Now, think about what your seat actually smells like to them. Every single time you sit down, you leave behind a dense, highly layered chemical signature. The natural oils from your skin, trace hormones, and the subtle shifts in your body chemistry that happen when you are relaxed, stressed, or exhausted, it all seeps deep into the fabric. Your dog doesn't just casually detect these things, they read them the exact way you would read a detailed, handwritten letter from someone you deeply love. Research published in scientific journals has proven that dogs can detect human emotional states through scent alone. Anxiety, calm, excitement. Your dog picks up on all of it. And your favorite seat? It is soaked in the absolute most concentrated, pure version of your personal scent that they can access when you are not physically touching them. So, when your dog buries their face into your cushion and exhales deeply, they are not being lazy or opportunistic. They are doing something ancient and profound. They are wrapping themselves in the chemical equivalent of your presence. It is the absolute closest thing to hugging you that they can find without you actually being there. But while the scent draws them in, the primal instinct behind the behavior is what keeps them there. Number 2, they are not stealing your spot. They are guarding it. Let's flip the script on something most people get completely backwards. When your dog takes your warm seat, every human instinct tells you they are taking something away from you. You assume they are being cheeky, acting dominant, or trying to win. Some petty little power struggle over the living room furniture. That is the story most people tell themselves, but that is absolutely not what is biologically happening. Dogs are descended from wild pack animals that operated on very clear, highly respectful social structures. In those ancient structures, one of the most vital responsibilities a loyal pack member had was guarding the resources and the resting places of the individuals they were deeply bonded to. They were not stealing them. They were actively guarding them. When your dog sits squarely in your spot, a massive part of that behavior is about preservation. They are holding your place. They are keeping your scent concentrated and protected from rivals. They are in their own canine way maintaining the presence of the person they are most attached to in the exact space where that person belongs. Think about how dogs behave with other objects that belong to their owners. Many dogs will curl up next to or entirely on top of their owner's dirty shoes, their unwashed laundry, or their pillow when they travel. This is not random naughtiness. It is a powerful comfort-seeking and territory-holding behavior rooted in deep emotional attachment. Your seat on the couch is simply the most obvious comfortable version of this. Studies on canine separation anxiety have found that dogs with the strongest attachment bonds to their owners show significantly more seat-occupying behaviors when left alone. In other words, the more your dog intensely loves you, the more likely they are to be sitting in your exact seat the millisecond you leave it. Guarding your spot is a beautiful sign of loyalty. But why do they choose your specific spot over every other comfortable chair in the house? Number 3, the ultimate mark of canine respect. Here is a question most dog owners never think to ask. Why your seat? Why not the plush armchair in the corner? Why not the fluffy end of the sofa with the extra pillows? Why not the perfectly warm patch of sunlight on the rug that has been there all afternoon? Your dog is not randomly choosing comfort. They are specifically choosing your spot. And that deliberate choice is intentional in a way that goes much deeper than most people realize. Dogs are extraordinarily observant creatures. They spend their entire lives silently reading the humans they live with. They track your routines, monitor your subtle body language, and carefully catalog your patterns of behavior. Over weeks, months, and years, your dog builds an incredibly detailed internal map of your household hierarchy. Who feeds them, who opens the heavy front door, who controls when walks happen, and who sits exactly where with what kind of energy. What they have almost certainly concluded, if they are stubbornly going to your seat specifically, is that you are the absolute most important person in that space. In canine social dynamics, the specific resting place of the most significant individual in a group carries a distinct kind of high status. Not dominance in the aggressive outdated sense that old dog training theory used to push, but profound significance and reverence. Your seat is where the pack leader spends their time. It holds the heaviest concentration of your energy and your smell. And for a dog who has officially decided that you are their person, that spot instantly becomes the most meaningful location in the entire house. When your dog sits in it, they are not challenging your authority. They want to be where you are in the most literal sense possible. And when you are not there, the absolute next best thing is to be exactly where you just were. Dog behavior researchers have observed that dogs in multi-person households will almost always preferentially occupy the seat of the person they have the strongest bond with, even when other seats are equally available. At the end of this video, I have a special gift for you for those who have always wanted to know exactly what kind of caretaker they are. I will show you how to find out which type you belong to, so stay with me to the end. Respect drives the choice, but there is an undeniable biological reward waiting for them the moment they lay down. Respect drives the choice, but there is an undeniable biological reward waiting for them the moment they lay down. Number 4, the biological value of your warmth. Put your hand on your seat right after you have been sitting in it for an hour. It is warm, obviously. You already knew that, but what you probably do not realize is how vital that specific warmth is for your dog from a biological standpoint. Dogs possess a slightly higher baseline body temperature than humans. The average human sits around 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Dogs typically run between 100 and 102.5 degrees because their metabolism burns hotter. Their ideal environmental temperature is correspondingly much higher. This is exactly why dogs seek out warm surfaces with what looks like borderline obsession: sunny patches on the hardwood floor, the top of the laundry dryer, or the warm side of a laptop that has been running for an hour. But here is what makes your seat exceptionally valuable in a way those other warm surfaces aren't. It is incredibly warm, and it smells exactly like you. It is warm, and it feels fundamentally safe. The heat is very real, and it matters biologically, but it works together with everything else to make your seat the single most appealing spot in your dog's entire world. Research on thermoregulation in domestic dogs has found that dogs expend measurably less metabolic energy when resting on pre-warmed surfaces because their bodies do not have to work as hard to maintain their core temperature. So, occupying your warm seat isn't just emotionally satisfying for your dog. It is physically and metabolically highly efficient. Your dog has, without ever reading a single scientific study, figured out that your seat is the absolute warmest, most energy-efficient place in the house. They love the warmth, but how do they always manage to steal the seat the exact millisecond you stand up? Number 5. The master of predictive modeling. This one stops people cold. You haven't even moved yet. You are still sitting there fully relaxed, and yet your dog is already starting to position themselves. They are staring at you with a highly particular quality of attention that is vastly different from their usual relaxed observation. It is almost like they are waiting for an invisible signal that only they can perceive. And here is the shocking truth: they are. Dogs are highly advanced pattern recognition machines operating at a level of precision that most humans cannot really grasp. They have been obsessively studying you, specifically you, every single day since they moved in. They know the exact sound your phone makes when you place it face down on the side table. They know the particular subtle way you shift your body weight into the cushion right before you stand up. They know the specific quality of breath you take before you speak versus the breath you take right before you get up and walk to the kitchen. Every single one of these microscopic microsignals has been carefully cataloged in their brain. Everyone has been directly connected to an outcome. Over months and years, your dog has assembled a predictive model of your physical behavior that is frankly more detailed than anything you have built about yourself. Your dog isn't reacting to you getting up. They are actively anticipating it. They are already in motion based on tiny biological signals you gave them seconds or minutes before you even consciously decided to move. By the time you are actually standing, they have already calculated the trajectory, cleared the physical distance, and confidently claimed the spot. This is not your dog being annoying. This is your dog demonstrating one of the most sophisticated cognitive skills in the entire animal kingdom. They predict your movements flawlessly, but they also use your seat to cope with a sudden psychological shift. Number 6. The micro-separation coping mechanism. Have you ever noticed that your dog is vastly more likely to aggressively steal your seat when you are walking away to another room, rather than just standing up to adjust the blinds? This specific timing reveals a deep emotional vulnerability behind the behavior. Dogs are incredibly prone to separation stress. They are pack animals. Their brains are biologically wired to maintain a visual and olfactory tether to their leader. When you stand up and walk toward the kitchen or the hallway, breaking that visual tether, your dog registers a micro-separation. Even if you are only going to be gone for 2 minutes, their internal stress levels experience a tiny spike. By immediately rushing to your seat and curling up tightly in the exact spot you just vacated, they are deploying a desperate, highly effective coping mechanism. Your seat is essentially a giant, comforting safety blanket. By burying their nose into the fabric, they are actively attempting to self-soothe. The intense concentration of your scent tricks their anxious brain into feeling like you are still somewhat present. It lowers their heart rate and provides a fleeting sense of security while you are out of sight. When you return to the room and find them curled tightly in your chair, it isn't because they wanted to steal it. It is because that chair was the only place in the room where they felt brave enough to wait for you. The seat soothes their mind, but the physical shape of the cushion actually soothes their body. Number 7. The physical contour of your body. There is an incredible physical element to seat stealing that traces straight back to the wilderness. When a wild canine prepares to sleep, they do. Thing for watching, and like and subscribe, share please.